Direct from Foxborough, Massachusetts, the gem of Norfolk County, and taped at the studios of Foxborough Cable Access. It's Foxborough Central. And here's your host, Bob Hickey.
And welcome to a great episode of Foxborough Central. I am Bob Hickey, your host, and I thank you for taking the time to join me and my guests as we talk about the people, events, and organizations that make Foxborough truly the gem of Norfolk County. Now, one of the great things about Foxborough is not only our small community feel, yet we have large exposure up on Route 1 with the New England Patriots. Not only is it because we have 35% of our community protected as forest and conservation land, but also because we have phenomenal schools. And if you look at our public school system, be it the more public aspects of it, such as our phenomenal music program, our great sports teams, but also the high level of educational excellence. Now, under these past many years, we've been under the guidance of our friend here at Foxborough Cable Access, and hopefully your friend as well, Debbie Spinelli. And as was announced recently, Debbie is going to be stepping down December of 2017 to pursue the next chapter of her career, which hopefully is going to be a nice long one with family and maybe going to the Orpheum Theater for shows. But for those of us who are still working, I'd like to introduce you, my viewers here in Foxborough land, to our incoming Superintendent of Public Schools, Dr. Amy Berdos. Amy, thank you so much for taking the time to join us here on Foxborough Central.
Thank you so much for having me.
So, as we do with every incoming town official, we welcome them to the program, and we hope they'll just take a little bit of time to tell us about themselves, what their goals are, and really how we can be of support to you and how you want us to get a hold of you should we need anything. So let's just start at the top.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Bob.
Hi, I'm Amy.
Hey, it's nice to meet you.
It's great to be here.
Now, you're already with the public schools. You're not new in. You didn't apply from some foreign land such as Texas or anything, did you?
No, I did not. This is my 7th year that I've been working with Debbie as her assistant superintendent.
Okay.
So we've been together for the last 7 years.
You know, in progression planning, it's always nice to be able to say that I'm grooming my replacement. And so how nice is it that Debbie is able to actually say that and mean it, and to have you come in and be ready to take the reins. So is this a goal that you've had for a long time, or is this more of a spur of the moment thing?
I don't think it's a spur of the moment. It's not anything that I've ever aspired to as far as I want to be a superintendent of schools. I think it's a matter of always just working with kids and doing what's right for kids and how can we best meet kids' needs. And so one thing has led to the next, and then I find myself sitting here so many years later. But as you mentioned, I've been fortunate. I've worked with Debbie for the last 7 years. I've had her as my partner, as my mentor, and I don't think that anyone could have a better experience to be prepared for that next level as what she has done for me.
I've always been impressed with Debbie's ability to tackle difficult situations and do it in such a way that you don't really realize the solution is there until it's there, and then it's collaboratively reached. And so it's not something where it's a power move or it's something that you really didn't expect. You kind of go along with it every step of the way. And that, of course, goes to good communication and really knowing who the participants are and caring about the system. So she's local, and you're local too. You live in...
I live in Plainville,
right
so
next
you're
right next door, absolutely. So, and family?
I have my husband that have been married for 25 years, and we have 4 children, 2 in college, and then 1 in high school and 1 in middle school.
Congratulations. So the 90-hour work week that is a superintendent, the family's ready for it, and I gather you are as well.
We are ready. It's not anything that's going to be really new as far as the work week and the time outside of the days. It's something that they've grown accustomed to, but I think that that's what works really well is that the communication, as you said.
Yes.
As long as we can communicate where we are, that's important.
So and you may not know this, I'm a former selectman myself, 2002 and 2005, and I always used to say, people say, oh, being a selectman is so tough. Like, well, yeah, so a selectman is very involved, but it's nothing like being on the school committee or one of the officials in the school department, and I give all the credit in the world because while we may get agitated over a pothole or a late garbage collection, we get passionate over the education of our children. So, all the credit to you, and I suppose that passion is something that you bring to the table. So, given the state of our schools, Foxborough well ranked?
Yes, we are well
Superly
ranked.
positive?
very positive. We have a great school system. We perform very well, and we have very talented kids.
I wasn't able to sneak in the word superly and have you repeat it. Good for you. Shows you're an independent thinker. I like that. So let's talk about Foxborough Public Schools. You've been involved here for 7 years. And by the way, resume building, where were you before Foxborough?
I was the K-12 Director of Curriculum Instruction for the Norton Public Schools. I taught in Norton prior to that at the elementary level, and then taught in another school district prior to that as well.
So you have the experience, and so you're not just a college graduate coming here with a bunch of book learning.
No, have
you've been there,
lots
done
of
that.
experience, and had many years behind me to help prepare for this role.
All right then, great. Well, I always say that experience is the best teacher. So sorry about that, everybody at home. So let's talk about Foxborough Public Schools. You've been here now for 7 years. Let's talk positive. What are some of the really great things that are going on in Foxborough, and some of the things that you like about us and that you would continue and perhaps even build upon?
We have a wonderful community here in Foxborough. It's a small community with our 5 schools. We have wonderful students, our staff, our teachers, our principals. We have a great team, and I think that that's one of the things I'm most proud of being a part of. And we've continued to build that team to do what's best for students here. We've been able to look at our programming. We've been able to add courses at the high school level, just meeting the needs of the students that come before us. In education, it's changing every day. We really have to be agile in order to respond to the needs of the students that come before us. And you can do that when you have a strong staff, and we do. So I'm really proud of the work that we've done and that I know that we'll continue to do.
Agile is a great term, and I'm going to pick on that one because here at Foxborough Cable Access, we're always trying to improve the services, but also embracing new technology, going with the new trends, communications, social media, everything that impacts us, the schools. What a challenge, because not only is it the current, but it's also the future, because you're really educating not for what's going on today, but trying to educate at least for what's going to happen tomorrow. So in a changing landscape, how do you best approach that? I mean, it's got to be a multifaceted approach, I'm sure, but how do you start? Where do you go?
It really is constantly changing, and the students that come before us come in with different skills than the students before them came in. It starts at an early age. You mentioned social media. That's definitely can be a challenge. It's a great communication tool. It's a great learning tool, but at the same time, teaching students how to behave responsibly. We have digital citizen curriculum in place. We have new digital literacy standards that we're really looking at those and making sure that we stay on top of those to best prepare our students for the world that is before them. We talk a lot about they need to build their brand. So if it's something with social media, what do we mean by that? What are you posting? We want that to be something very positive. So when people are learning about you as an individual or things that you're involved in, what do they see that comes up first? Because those are the other types of things that we're having to teach in school today. Because it's not just a matter of having a device and knowing how to use that device. It's using it responsibly and really thinking towards the future of how it can impact you in the future as well.
It's interesting you mentioned that, because those are really lessons that we learned when we were younger, and your first impression is your first impression, whether it's electronic media or just a simple handshake and eye contact. It's still your first impression, and then what you say means something, and how you present yourself down the road, has meaning. And with social media, everything stays out there, so it's not as if you can get a do-over and reinvent yourself. So how interesting. And then with that, I suppose that it's important to also understand jobs and industry trends and college and all that. So
right.
How do you think Foxborough is stacking up? And I guess the flip of the question is, where do you see the curriculum changing, if you do at all, in the next few years to meet the 2020 era of job seekers, which I guess is who's in school now, right?
Right. Well, we're preparing students to be global citizens. It's
2020. Oy, oy, oy. Sorry.
That's right. So we're preparing them to be global citizens, and what exactly does that mean? It really is looking at the skills that they'll need. One of the things that we've done here recently that we just spoke of at the last school committee meeting was the OECD test for schools, which is an international benchmarking assessment, so we can look at our students and how we're best preparing them at an international level. And that particular assessment is a cognitive test for reading and math and science, and we performed really, really well with our students. So it's constantly looking, to answer your question, where are we, not being afraid to look deeply at where our strengths are, where our areas of improvement are, and tackling that head on, and to make sure that we're giving our students the best that we can. We're holding them to high expectations, and we're holding ourselves to high expectations.
How interesting. So the OECD is an international standards and testing, I imagine. And so it doesn't sound as though you're just satisfied with and sitting on the laurels of high MCAS scores.
No, that really is a test to look and see how we measure up internationally, and to see within those particular areas. It's a cognitive test. It's not just a test. MCAS, as you mentioned, is a test of the standards that we in Massachusetts have and are held accountable to. This is really looking at, it's a cognitive test, having our students think critically how they're going to perform at an international level, and provide us that information so we can continue to find areas to improve.
And I suppose that along with that, Foxborough has always been known as a participant strongly with not only the METCO program out of Boston, but also with the foreign exchange. And I was just reading the Foxborough Reporter. It seemed like it was the largest ever international exchange student grouping. And so maybe touch on that for a little bit, as far as, is there any correlation between the OECD and just the general appeal of bringing in a more diverse, from a cultural and educational standpoint, student population?
Well, that's the exchange program with our students that just came from France, and we had 24 students that came over, and our students will go and visit in February with them.
Terrific.
And that's a program that's been involved, we've been involved in for many, many years. I believe Bevy Lord actually started that so many years ago, and it's continued to be strong. And we do have many opportunities for exchanges for our students, and that's another way of really opening their eyes to what's out there and to make sure that they're prepared in different ways.
Beverly Lord, of course, is on the school committee, and what a great resource, and she's been there for so long, not only as a teacher, as an educator, but also as a leader on the school board. And you've got a great school committee. So with that, with strong leadership, both from the administrative side as well as from the volunteer board side, what are some of the challenges, if any, that you feel are going to be coming down the pike in the next few years that are going to have to be met head on?
I think that, first of all, as you mentioned, we do have a really strong school committee, and that speaks a lot to the people that are willing to volunteer all their time as a selectman, as any local member that's willing to come forward and volunteer the amount of time that it takes for all of those meetings and preparation. It really is a tribute to those that are willing to serve. And we're fortunate to have people that are invested, truly invested in our town, in our students to do well. As far as challenges going forward, I think that education is constantly changing, as mentioned before, and being able to respond to those challenges that come before us. We might not know what they are at this point. We have a good idea when it comes to teaching and learning and the curriculum standards that have changed. We've had a lot of different content areas where standards have changed, and being able to react and to have a curriculum that not only is addressing those standards, but also that's addressing the social emotional learning needs of our students and the technology advancements. There's so much that goes in and intertwines with all of that, that it really does take a team in order to make sure that we're making all of those connections together.
Sounds great, sounds great. And I'm going to ask you about those changing standards, because I know that before we went on the air, we were chatting a little bit about changing MCAS. So I'm going to get to that in a second, but I want to remind folks at home that we're speaking with Dr. Amy Berdos, who's the incoming superintendent of our public schools here in Foxborough. If you want to get in touch with Dr. Berdos, you can always reach out to her at the administration building, which is at the IGO school, as we all know, but also all of her contact information is located on the town website, which is at www.foxborough, spelled the correct way, UGH.K12.ma.us, and you'll see it on your screen there. And also I just Google them up because I can't remember all that. So, Dr. Berdos, with the MCAS of 2017, is that the same MCAS that was in 2014? Is it going to be the same MCAS in 2020? Is it a changing tool? Let's talk MCAS, because that's always the term that people use. And I'm not even sure if half of us understand what it means when we say we're teaching to the test or the MCAS scores are improving and not improving. What does it really mean?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I'm confident in saying that we don't teach to the test. If we're teaching the standards for Massachusetts, then that will take care of itself. But we are obligated for administering the MCAS in grades 3 through 8 and then at the high school because it is a graduation requirement. But here recently the MCAS, as they call it, the legacy MCAS, which has been in place for 20 years, it's changing, and it has changed with this past administration. And they now call it the next generation MCAS or MCAS 2.0. It is taken online for our students in grades 3 through 8 for this next spring. Last year, students in grades 4 through 8 took that test online. And it really is a different test measuring some different skills because they're able to do many different things when it is online. So really thinking critically, being able to analyze reading passages at a different level is one of the changes. We have new standards that it's going to be measuring as we move forward. When we talk about standards, what is that? It's what students should know and be able to do. It's what we teach at different grade levels.
Right.
And we have new standards as of 2016 in science, technology, engineering, in digital literacy and computer science, and then in 2017, revised standards for English language arts and math. So there's a lot when it comes to curriculum and instruction that teachers are working with to make sure our students are prepared, and I have full confidence they will be because of the staff that we have.
That's fantastic. So the MCAS is changing to stay with the times. So let's talk about the times. Is this a state issue? Is this a national issue? Where do you see educational challenges nationally? I suppose we should ask, because Massachusetts is just one of the 50. And while our issues are likely a little different than in other areas, I have to think that at a certain level, all educational challenges have to be similar. So where do you see the challenges on a national level being?
I think, again, it really goes back to preparing them at a different level than in the past. It's looking at what is a global citizen, what does that mean, how does that impact our curriculum, how do we ensure that our students are culturally proficient and what that looks like within our curriculum. It's making sure that whatever comes their way, which might not exist now, that they are able to think and be critical in how they approach things as far as the direction and the decisions that they make, that they're inquisitive, that they're asking questions, and that they really are looking at things in a way that maybe they didn't look at things in the past, and that as educators that we're providing opportunities for students to do just that.
So strict memorization and multiple choice is probably not going to be the guide stones of your curriculum.
No, we really want them to think critically. If you think about when you go online to read something, that can be a very different experience depending on all of the links that are embedded within a document. Your learning experience might be very different than someone else's at the beginning and where you end up, because there's so many different pathways that you can go just based on the way that information is presented to students. So we really need to think critically about what we're reading, where are we going, what are we pursuing.
Given that you've been here for 7 years and that you're well familiar with who we are, what we do, what we have, and what our resources are, where do you see the school department going in, say, the next 5 years as far as classroom physical structure improvements, as far as curriculum improvements? Maybe improvements is the wrong word, because things, I think we have to agree that things are very good here in Foxborough. A lot of work goes into creating a superior educational experience, and much credit to you and to the current administration and all the teachers. So if you had a wish list or you had a dream list and you were to say, hey, I see where we're going in the next 5 years, but this is what I really need, what would some of those things be?
I think that part of it is the collaboration that we have in working together. So when we talk about the classroom and what students have now, anytime, anywhere learning, technology. We have just finished a technology plan. We're in the middle of developing our next technology plan. We were able to really conclude that a year early. So looking at what are the experiences for students, when they're working together in projects and they're collaborating with others, if you think about it in the working world, it's about communication and about collaboration. It's not something that you do in isolation. So really providing opportunities and more opportunities for students to have real world experiences, to be able to collaborate with each other in ways that maybe they haven't in the past, and to provide those opportunities to where they can see through hands-on experiences that have meaning and that they can see the relevance.
Okay. Wow. I have no follow-up to that. I love it. So and again, I'm speaking with Dr. Amy Berdos, who is our incoming school superintendent. She's been the assistant superintendent for these past 7 years here in Foxborough. She knows us, we know you, but you know what we don't know?
What's that?
The real you.
The real me.
When you started to go to college, did you say to yourself, I want to be a teacher, or did you want to be an astronaut or a firefighter or a ballerina? What was your original life goal?
Well, it's interesting. I never intended on being a teacher.
No?
No. I had parents that were in education, my mother in particular. She was one that first college female president of a university. Never thought about going into education. I actually have
What university?
Texas A&M University.
We got to give a shout out to your mom.
Oh, that's not where she was. She was at Worcester State.
Okay.
But I went to Texas A&M for construction. So my undergraduate degree is not in education. So I had many engineering courses, and I think that that's part of my passion for math and science. And when I decided to possibly pursue education and go on to my master's degree, that talking about a passion, it's math and science at the elementary level, and not shying away from that and seeing that our kids could be inquisitive every day and think like a scientist. So that's part of my passion, but it didn't end up being that I had pursued education to begin with. But it is my passion. And
okay. And now that you're in a position where you can do something about it, you can actually make that passion into a tangible reality that's measurable and funded and able to be created and executed.
Right. So I think we need.
Assuming that it's still your passion.
It is,
Okay.
and we need more girls to pursue the STEM areas too. So the math and the science, and to not lose interest as they get older. And we have great courses and programs at the elementary, middle, and high school levels for them to do just that.
Well, strong leaders are to be emulated, so hopefully your leadership will be an inspiration to a future generation. So with that, I guess we're going to ask the toughest question of all.
Okay.
Why do you do this?
Because what better profession is there to know that you make the difference in the life of kids and that you can provide something for them that's going to impact them for the rest of their life? I don't think that there's any greater calling, and that we know that we can make a difference each day, and sometimes you don't even know what that difference is, and you find out years later. But there's no better profession, and I don't think that there's any more important profession than working with students and really seeing how we can help them see their potential and the difference that they can make.
I always say that you never know where you're going to lay your seeds, but when you keep on laying them, something good's bound to grow, and some good things do grow. So how excellent is it that you're in this position, you're here with us in Foxborough to make that a reality?
Yeah, it's a great community. It is a supportive community, as you mentioned before. Foxborough Cable Access, the partnership that you have with our schools, and the many other partners that we have. We are fully supported, and we know that that trust is there for us to do right by students, and we will continue to do that. And I look forward to continuing the work that I've worked with Debbie and others to do.
Well, I'm going to give you the last word because we're so out of time, but I'm going to mention one more time to the folks at home that we're speaking with Dr. Amy Berdos, who is our incoming superintendent of schools here in Foxborough. We're very glad that she has stayed 7 years of training under our friend Debbie Spinelli to take the next step and be our leader going forward. So much credit to you for doing that and making that commitment to Foxborough. We appreciate that, really do. Here at Cable Access, we're made up of volunteers, and volunteers, I've always said, make up the backbone of our community. There's a lot of good people that volunteer for the schools, also with the parent-teacher organizations, your student aides. And it seems as though you're going to continue that inclusive leadership and making Foxborough a welcoming place in the schools for participation and communication and involvement. Is that
Absolutely.
the case?
It really does take a village. And we're fortunate to have so many people that are willing to share their times and their expertise with us. So we are a very inclusive environment. We have wonderful parents and other volunteers that may not even have children in the schools and still work with us in different capacities.
So fantastic. I am so sorry that we're out of time, but I'm going to give you the last word. Dr. Berdos, it's yours.
We have a wonderful community here. I'm so happy to be part of that. I really do feel privileged to step into this role. I feel very thankful and fortunate to have had the mentorship of Debbie in the past 7 years. I feel like she has really helped prepare me for this next role, and I'm excited to see what the role brings and to continue the journey.
Well, credit to you for taking that step and being willing to continue to be part of our fabric here in Foxborough. So thank you, Amy Berdos, for taking the time to be with us here on Foxborough Central. And thank you to you, my faithful viewers, for taking the time to watch. Of course, we mentioned volunteers, and we here at Cable Access are grateful to the volunteers who help bring this program and all the others to you, including my volunteers, Betty Travers, who is working the cameras, Paul Beck behind the glass, and Jillian Larson, who puts all these great graphics together to make it a super program for you. Lauren Bertari and Michael Weber here at Cable Access want to remind you that if you'd like to become a volunteer here at Foxborough Cable Access, stop by our studios. We're located at 28 Central Street. We've got the blue awning right out here on Central Street. You can't miss us. Give us a call at 543-4757. Talk to Marg Nash at the front desk and she'll set you up. Until we talk again next time, Foxborough, I hope you have a great day. Take care, everybody.